Hello, welcome back to From Soft Serve. For today, we are in Vanilla DS2. Not Scholar the First Sin, the vanilla version. I bought it on Steam. I thought I owned it, but I must have pirated the last time I played it, which was a while ago. I've never actually finished a full game of the Vanilla DS2. Scholar has basically been what I've played, and obviously mods that I've created have been for Scholar. But I've always been curious of, like, is there something I can do for Vanilla DS2? So I was trying to, play around with that, and I have decided that is my next project. After I finish Dark Souls Re-Remastered, I'm going to finish that first of all. Oh my god, I just realized that this is totally floating. Oh my god. Miyazaki, even though you were just the supervisor on this, my god. I can't believe you'll never make it in this industry. You'll never make it in. Okay, well, I'll take a screenshot of that later. Yeah, so it's going to be, I haven't really come up with like a full name for it, but it might just be Vanilla DS2 Remastered, to be honest. Because what I can do is upgrade the textures, which I've already done in, let's go to Things Betwixt. And I don't know, I've always been curious because with Vanilla DS2, you don't have, like DS2 Lighting Engine obviously is an amazing mod, but it only works on Scholar because Scholar is DX11 based, and Vanilla DS2 here is DX9 based. And I don't know, I always needed some TLC, and it's really cool, and I feel bad for the Vanilla DS2 people if, your version's kind of stuck back there and doesn't really get as much support anymore. But like a 2024 level texture upscaling, like the textures in here have been upscaled, and I'm aiming for a 2x resolution boost. So if they were 1K before, they're 2K now, 512 by 512, they're now 1024 by 1024, etc. And some actually were able to go to 4K because they were 2K originally. Like these logs now have a little bit of detail on them, where before they were blurry as hell. And I haven't done character textures yet, but yeah, everything in this room has been upscaled. And the upscaling was really the only thing I was going to do, because Vanilla DS2 doesn't have mod tools, like support for mod tools, aside from like a couple things, but most only work with Scholar. So I was pretty convinced I wasn't going to be able to do much beyond just texture upscaling. Hell, even texture upscaling, I wasn't entirely sure if the unpacking and repacking would work fine, because I just really hadn't messed around with that. Oh, floating grass. Okay. Miyazaki, you're killing me. Or Tanamura. We'll put it on Tanamura. Or Shibuya. So this is actually a really good example out here. So yeah, I upscaled this texture that you'll see has the bottle cap in it. It also has a Heineken bottle, but I think the way that they UV map this texture here, I think the Heineken bottle doesn't show up, but the bottle cap definitely does, that little red bottle cap. Yeah, they got a reference texture from somewhere, and it has a Heineken bottle in it, and it's pretty legendary among the community. But yeah, so the texture upscaling has been going fantastically well, but then I did a test on this grass here. This grass by default has no shadow casting, which I've always found very odd. It just had zero shadows, and it looked very weird with how striking like this image is. And so I used the same tool that I have been able to use on Scholar and enable shadow casting for objects or map pieces. And I was like, fuck, I don't think it's going to work, because they're different versions and they have a lot of changes. And lo and behold, I had to do a couple things to get it to work. But yeah, the grass is now casting shadows. Looks so much better. And actually what I've been surprised by is the shadows in Vanilla DS2 are very, very high quality. When obviously I have, the game at max settings, at this point. But I've been very surprised by how good it actually like looks. I don't know. I guess I was expecting a worse looking game, but I just look at this scene. Like, this is beautiful. I'm just genuinely surprised by how good it looks. But yeah, I've been upscaling the rocks here. We'll go look at my Twitter page, because there I have some before and afters that I felt would be pretty good for the video versus doing it like in the video itself. But like, these are baked shadows. And the things that are out of scope, unfortunately, for this mod that I was able to do in my, Scholar visual overhaul mod, like the light that's here, I would have been able to make it shadow casting. And beyond that, one of my favorite things I added to Scholar was Bonfire Shadows. So you can actually have, shadows, your player shadow be casting from the bonfire itself. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do that because that would require me having access with DS Map Studio, which just does not support Vanilla DS2. So unless I can somehow port over the exact file I need that would allow me to do that from Scholar and then not breaking Vanilla, I'll try it out, but I think likely that's not going to work. But what I can do is, the aforementioned texture upscales, new normal maps, and I can also add more things to be reflected in the water. I can change the mesh and texture LODs, so how far they are like of high quality. Like for instance, I'll show you in my Twitter when we look at that. But this rock right here, in both versions of DS1 or DS2, whenever you get to like this area, it gets super low res. It was just a mistaken texture LOD. It was just kind of programmed a little wonky. And so I altered that, and now the rock has a high quality texture no matter how far away you go. And that's just one of the many things that you can do with the tool. And then over here, these pillars were actually there was one of them that was really low quality texture from a distance. And so I altered that texture LOD, and you're good to go. And so like this grass here is floating. That I won't be able to fix, because once again, that would require DS Map Studio support, and I unfortunately do not have that support. But I still think it's worthwhile. That's really what I discovered. I was like, oh shit, okay, this is actually worth doing, because I can do the shadows and the textures LODs and the mesh LODs, and there's some other things I can do too. I can actually alter the model files. So if I need to actually like adjust what texture they use or what material setting they are set on. One thing I will be testing is actually giving something a normal map when it didn't originally have a normal map. Because some things in DS2 Vanilla, at least, they don't have a normal map. Most do. So I am testing that. But right here you can see this fence before was not casting shadows. And now you get this nice, beautiful shadows cast on it. And if we run over here, we will also see these sort of tree trunk, vine, whatever the hell you want to call these tree thingies. You'll see they're casting very nice, sharp shadows now. The grass is casting shadows. So I've already been able to enable dynamic shadow casting on a good number of these things. The skyboxes, of course, are just a giant texture, and I've already upscaled them. And that's one thing you might notice if you're used to playing with DS2 Lighting Engine with Scholar, is that by default, it basically takes away the skybox and changes it. And, that was the controversial change for some people. I didn't personally mind. There was a toggle, of course, where you could put the skybox back on. So, of course, in my mod, it will just be the skybox, but upscaled to 4K or whatever resolution, but usually 4K. And I think they look fucking awesome. I am actually blown away by how fucking good this game looks. I for whatever reason, I guess I was just expecting something to look worse. And like, I've played this before, but now that I'm going through it with like a modding mindset, I'm blown away by how fucking good this game still looks. And of course, there's areas in this game that I think don't look as good. You know, like the art design. Like that depends. But Majula, Things Betwixt, Heidi's Tower of Flame, like back to back to back, unbelievable, like art design, just amazing looking. But I've also been surprised by just how good Vanilla DS2 looks. I don't know, I just expected something worse. I did upscale this wall and gave it a new normal map as well, so it actually looks pretty spicy. The one thing that this version I don't think really supports at all is like parallax occlusion mapping. So I don't think there's any chance of like adding that. For that'll be with Scholar and DS2 Lighting Engine. But I don't know, this seems like a worthwhile project to me. I'm really excited to work on it. I think you'll see my character shadow get worse at a distance right there. Yeah, there's like a little shadow cascade. And as you walk forward, you'll see my shadow get really sharp. Now, interestingly, I'll show you a couple fun things with DS2 and how fast it'll throw shit out of memory. And I've gotten really good at looking at this because of my work on DS1, right? So if you step in here just far enough, put your big toe in this room, look on the left side of the screen, whoop! It basically kicks out that model. Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, the draw groups are hilarious. It also kicks the grass out. And that is just a misprogrammed draw group where, like they were obviously optimizing for PS3 and 360, but there were some that just didn't make a whole lot of sense that were wonky. But DS1 was the same thing. And hell, even DS3 has some of that, but mostly DS1 and DS2. Demon Souls really didn't have that problem. The other thing you'll notice is the actual, which I think is crazy, but you'll notice the armor has not loaded in his shop yet. And even like I think there's like a little candle in there, that doesn't actually load until you step in the building. But I think what happens is people basically do this, and they run in and it's there. So you'd have to be playing the game by like walking in very slowly, and I don't think anyone's going to do that. But I love how it can even flicker, because it's your character stepping on different collisions right here, and you'll see it load in and out. Those I cannot fix, unless I would somehow get a magical build of DS Map Studio that works with Vanilla DS2. Here's another example of a awful texture seam. Don't think I can fix that. That would really require like Blender Soulstruct to work with Vanilla DS2 magically, and I don't see that happening. But maybe it'll support Scholar DS2, and maybe by supporting that, it'll support the same model files. I don't know. That's TDB. We will see. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun project for me. I kind of wanted to get that out there and announce that. Hopefully no one comments on this video of like, what the hell, you need to finish Dark Souls Re-Remastered. It's like, that's why I said that up front. I'm finishing that first. This is just going to be my next project, because I think Vanilla DS2 deserves some love. But let's go to my Twitter real quick. Oh, I don't even have a web browser up. All right, let's go to Twitter and profile. Okay. See if I can make it bigger. Yeah. So here, you'll see the example of, this is what it was by default. No shadows being cast, which it looked fine. And then you just turn on shadow casting for that, and what a difference. And an example here, you'll notice on them, no shadows being cast. Turn that on. Just wonderful looking shadows. And then these are just shots of me being in Heidi's Tower of Flame. This was no upscaling or anything done yet. But like, look how fucking beautiful this game is. I'm just blown away by it, you know? I get kind of excited of like, I love modding Dark Souls 2, and so working on Vanilla DS2 feels special because it just hasn't gotten a lot of love, you know. Oh yeah, that's when I was showing something getting kicked out of memory. Yeah, goofy. And then this is those logs I was showing earlier, and that's what they look by default, really blurry. And then after a texture upscale, you know, they're not perfect, but that's what I like, is they're still using the default texture. I don't like replacing with wholly new textures or anything. Here's an example of, because the grass got shadow casting now, when you use your torch, the shadows will now sort of dance around the grass because they're now set to cast shadows. And that's the real big benefit of doing that, on top of it just looking good by having shadows, but you're going to get the benefit of torch shadows as well. And that's like that's arguably, it is my favorite thing of DS2. So here's the rock I was talking about earlier. When you get too far away, that's what it looks like. And then when I fixed it, it will now look high quality the whole time. Yeah, and so here's the grass. This is the grass when you first start the game. There are no shadows on this grass. And then, booyah. Pretty good. Pretty good looking. Like, just such a small change, but I think it really makes a difference. This was a really sloppy comparison picture. But yeah, you can see there's no shadows being cast by anything here. And then when I turn that on, now the log is actually casting a shadow. You actually have this larger area here casting shadows. It's just small things like that. And here is the 4K upscale of this texture. And, oh yeah, I forgot, we can't actually open image in new tab. Yes. There you go. Can I get to the Heineken bottle? Yeah, here's the Heineken bottle. It's hilarious. I love it. Oh, let me scroll over. Yeah, so this is after it's been upscaled to 4K, but it was still like a 2K texture originally, which is great. But yeah, it's got just a little Heineken bottle, just chilling out, you know? All right, do I have anything else? No, I got a Vagrant. It looks great. Oh, this is just going to be a Easter egg for anyone who watched this far. So I found this texture while working on DS1, and I was like, what in the holy goddamn hell is this texture? Because it looks like bear fur armor, and this looked fucking weird. And I was like, is this a fucking clown? And I thought this was like a dress or something. And it turns out that that is actually Illusory Wall coming in clutch. It is a Demon's Souls Fat Official riding a boar, which is crazy. Let's see if because I think they linked. Yeah, here you go. So it's Jester Patches. So it's actually from the concept art. Yeah, here's the better quality one. It's a Fat Official riding a boar, and it was basically prototype stuff that made its way into DSR, because they just basically released everything that was apparently given to them. And so it wasn't in Prepare to Die or anything. But come on, we were robbed of a Fat Official riding a boar. So anyway, that's an Easter egg for anyone who stayed this late. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, let me know. Are you excited about Vanilla DS2 getting some remaster love or remastered love? Can you remaster love? Maybe. Well, I'll try to find out. But yeah, are you excited? Is that something you'd be interested in? Would you like more videos on that? I mean, obviously I'm going to be finishing DSRR. I'm very close on that. Bug fixes, whatnot. Having a ton of fun. But it's nice to have my next project planned out, and I can kind of like tinker around with that in my free time from DS1 modding. Also kind of keeps my modding brain fresh a little bit, just to pop into something else for a little bit. And it's also just easier because it's just texture upscaling and turning on shadow casting, so it's not like troubleshooting. And I'm not messing with the lighting or anything of like how it looks, how the scene looks. It's just DS2. So it's kind of freeing in that way. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.